Chapter 1. The Small Village. My name is Sofia, and I am 28 years old. I was born in a very small village surrounded by fields and rivers. Our house was made of clay walls and a tin roof. We did not have many things, but we had love inside the family. My father worked in the fields, and my mother sold vegetables in the market. I was their only daughter, and they wanted me to study, even when life was not easy. Every morning I woke up before sunrise to help my mother carry water from the well. After that, I fed the chickens and washed the small dishes we had. When my friends played outside, I sat with my books. I did not have new books, only old ones given by a kind teacher. But I loved reading every page. My dream was bigger than my village. At school, some children laughed at me because my clothes were simple. They said, "Why do you study so hard? Girls will only cook and marry." Their words made me sad, but I did not stop. I promised myself that one day I would prove them wrong. My teacher, Mrs. Helen, told me, "Sophia, your eyes are full of light. Never give up." Her words stayed in my heart. One day the electricity went out, and I had an exam the next morning. I used a small oil lamp and studied the whole night. My eyes burned, but I did not stop. In the morning, I walked to school with tired legs, but inside I carried hope. That exam became the first time I scored the highest marks in my class. When I brought the paper home, my father's eyes filled with tears. He put his hand on my head and said, "My daughter, one day you will shine brighter than the stars." I did not fully understand his words, but in my heart, I believed him. That was the beginning of my long journey. Chapter 2. A Hard Road. Growing older did not make things easier. My parents worked harder, but the money was still small. Sometimes we had only rice and salt for dinner. Many nights I studied on an empty stomach, but my hunger for knowledge was bigger than the hunger for food. I told myself, one day I will change this life. When I entered high school, I had to walk 7 kilometers every day. My shoes were torn, and in the rainy season, my feet were always wet. Sometimes I slipped in the mud and my books got dirty, but I cleaned them and kept going. My teachers noticed my effort, and they encouraged me. There was a science fair in the nearby town, but I had no money to travel there. I cried silently in my room. Then my mother sold 2 hens and gave me the money. She said, "Go, Sophia, show them what you can do." That day, I went with a small project made of cardboard and wires. People laughed at my simple work, but one judge looked at me kindly and said, "This girl has a sharp mind." At night, when the stars filled the sky, I often sat outside and looked at them. I whispered, "One day, I will learn about you. One day I will touch the secrets of the universe." My dreams were too big for the little house, but my parents never tried to cut them. Still, there were obstacles. Some relatives told my father to stop my studies. They said, "Why spend money on a girl? She will marry and leave." But my father stood strong and replied, "My daughter will not just marry. She will change the world." His faith gave me the courage to continue. Chapter 3. Leaving the village. The day came when I received admission to the city college. I was happy, but also afraid. I had never left my village before. My father gave me a small bag with clothes, and my mother cooked bread for my journey. She held my hands tightly and said, "Never forget where you came from." The city was very different. Tall buildings, loud cars, and so many people made me feel small. My roommates laughed at my accent and my simple clothes. Sometimes I cried at night, missing my home. But every morning I reminded myself, I'm here for a reason. In college, science classes opened a new world to me. I saw real laboratories with glass tubes, microscopes, and machines I had never imagined. The first time I looked through a microscope, I whispered, "This is magic." I decided then that I wanted to be a scientist. Life was not easy in the city. I worked part-time in a cafe to pay my fees. I washed dishes until midnight, and then studied until dawn. Many times my body felt weak, but my heart pushed me forward. When I got my first scholarship, I ran to call my parents. They cried with joy on the phone. One night, when I was walking back from work, a group of girls laughed at me and said, "You, a scientist? You cannot even afford good shoes." I looked down at my worn-out sandals, then raised my head and said to myself, "Shoes break, but dreams do not." Chapter 4, The First Breakthrough. During my second year, a professor announced a competition for young researchers. The winner would get a chance to study abroad. My heart beat fast. This was my chance. I decided to make a project on clean water, because in my village, children often got sick from dirty water. I spent weeks in the lab, mixing, testing, and failing. Sometimes the chemicals burned my hands. Other times, my formulas gave no results. My classmates laughed and said, "Why work so hard? You will never win." But I did not listen. I kept trying. One night, while cleaning the filter I made, I noticed something strange. The water came out clearer than before. I tested it again and again. It worked. My eyes filled with tears. I felt like I had touched a piece of the future. The day of the competition came. My project looked simple compared to others with big machines and shiny posters. But when I explained how it could help poor villages, the judges listened carefully. At the end, they announced my name as the winner. I could not believe it. When I called my parents, they shouted with joy. My father said, "You did it, my star." That night, I looked at the sky and whispered, "This is only the beginning." Chapter 5, The World Beyond. With the scholarship, I traveled to another country. The plane ride was the first time I had ever left my land. I looked out the window and thought of my little village. I promised myself I would carry it inside me, wherever I went. The new country was full of technology and modern science. At first I felt lost, but slowly I learned. My professors encouraged me, and my friends from different nations shared ideas. I learned that science had no borders. Still, I faced challenges. Some people doubted me because I was from a small village. They asked, "Can a village girl really make discoveries?" Instead of being angry, I worked harder. I stayed in the lab for long nights, testing and failing again. Failure became my teacher. After many months, my research paper was published in an international journal. I was only a young student, but my name was printed for the world to see. When I held the paper, my hands trembled. I remembered the oil lamp, the muddy road, and my torn shoes. Now I was standing in the light. I sent a copy to my parents. My mother held it to her chest like it was treasure. She told everyone in the village, "This is my daughter. She has gone far, but she is still ours." Chapter 6, A Scientist with a Dream. Years passed, and I became a scientist working in a research center. My focus was always on problems that poor people faced: clean water, Simple medicine, cheap energy. I never forgot the faces of children in my village who suffered without these things. One day I was invited to give a speech at an international science conference. People from all over the world sat in front of me. My heart beat fast, but I remembered my father's words. Shine like a star. I stood tall and told my story. When I finished, the hall filled with applause. Later, a young girl came to me and said, "I am from a small village too. After hearing you, I believe I can also be a scientist." Tears filled my eyes. I realized my story was not only mine, it belonged to many girls like her. When I returned to my village, people gathered around me. They welcomed me with flowers and drums. My parents stood proudly in the front. I hugged them tightly. My father whispered, "You proved everyone wrong." Now at 28 years old, I still dream bigger dreams. I know the road is long, but I'm no longer afraid. I am Sofia, the girl from a small village who became a scientist. And I believe that anyone, no matter where they come from, can light up the world.